What is going on, Miami Dolphins fans? Welcome back to the Fins Up Network. It's Ben Morgan, and preparation for Vikings week continues today with our top three keys to victory against those 4-1 Minnesota Vikings. But obviously, there's more keys to victory than just the ones I'm going to talk about today. So that's where you come into play. So drop your top keys to victory in the comments below, and let's carry on the conversation there. Let's jump right into what I have got today. And number one for me is the Skylar Show, because it was announced on Wednesday that all signs are pointing to Skylar Thompson getting his first career NFL start with the Miami Dolphins. Likely that Tua is going to be inactive for the game on Sunday, and Teddy Bridgewater is not coming out of protocol likely until Thursday. As of recording this, he's not out of it yet, but I'm guessing it's going to happen later today. So that means it's been Skylar week all week at practice. He's getting all of the first team reps. The game plan specifically being designed for him to be this team's starting quarterback. The team is preparing for and counting on Skylar to lead them to victory, a much needed victory as well after losing 2 games in a row. Now, I don't think they're going to ask Skylar to go out there, put the team on the back, win this game himself. If you didn't check out my stock up, stock down video from yesterday, go back and check that out, because I talked about the running back position, specifically Raheem Mostert, because the success that he was able to have last week against the Jets without Teddy, without Tua, without a bunch of the offensive linemen that we continue to need to count on week in and week out, if he was able to have that success with what we were throwing out there against the Jets, I think the sky, and I don't want to say the sky is the limit, but we have not seen the potential of what our run game can be so far this season. So that might be something that we can kind of count on a little bit more moving forward in regards to getting actual production. And think about Mike McDaniel as well. He has been working with Skylar Thompson literally since earlier this spring during rookie OTAs. And he knows what he can and can't do with Skylar in regards to a game plan. So he's going to put a game plan together that he thinks Skylar can execute and can lead to a Dolphins victory. But a lot of what I hope that they included in this week's practice is those little things that we saw missing in that game against the Jets that he filled in for, protecting the ball. Like, he knows the plays. I'm not too worried about that. But it's going to be the avoiding being tricked and manipulated by the defenses, holding the ball too long, taking the sacks, having those fumbles, trying to do too much too early. It's like trying to set the tone and get out there. That could be dangerous right there. So those are the things that I think could potentially make or break this game for Skylar and the Dolphins. And honestly, I don't think they can just say, okay, well, Mostert had a good game last week, let's just ride him. You can't ignore the fact that you've got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And last week in that game, granted, that game is almost a throwaway game. You can't take much from that game. But those two combined for 10 catches for 70 yards. I'm going to say right now, if that happens against the Vikings, we're not going to win that game. So you've got to get out there. You got to get those guys involved. But this is an opportunity, honestly, wrapping up this point here, this is an opportunity for Skylar to get a scheduled start, full week of practice, be able to prove that he can be the guy when his number is called, because that's what backup quarterbacks do. This is essentially his audition to be the team's full-time backup quarterback, not only for this year, but for moving forward as well. So let's jump into number 2, because that is containing the Vikings beast, young Justin Jefferson. Man, this guy is an absolute stud. So far this year, there's been 3 games that he's had receiving totals of 184, 147, and 154. Needless to say, the Vikings won all of those games. So now, if Xavier Howard plays, which on Wednesday it was, he said, yep, I'm playing. I want to play. So if he gets the green light, which it's looking like he will, what do you do with him in regard to Justin Jefferson? Because most of the time you want best on best. And if you tell Xavier Howard, you know what, we don't want you covering Justin Jefferson, you can't tell an alpha athlete that without that being like, you know what, I can get the best of this guy. But if you think about what they did in that game against the Bengals, it was, hey, go ahead, you can take care of T. Higgins and we'll bracket Jamar Chase. So I almost wonder if they would do something like that again this time, because if Xavier Howard is playing, that's great and all, but if he's not 100%, I don't know that you want to put him out on an island with the likes of Justin Jefferson. And you can man them up with Justin Jefferson, that's fine, but make sure you're having safety help over the top. But it's going to be very interesting, in my opinion, to see what we do against Justin Jefferson, because obviously Byron Jones still on PUP. He won't be playing. So you're looking at the likes of Kohu and Needham and the safeties. If you want to do like a bracket coverage, like it's going to be a combination of those guys if you don't strictly assign Xavier Howard to Justin Jefferson. But something to watch, and absolutely a huge key to this game in regards to the Vikings offense. And I want to end with this one. And this is the one I'm praying for. Start faster defensively. This key is literally a Vikings strength versus a Dolphins weakness. And the Dolphins have had literally no good opening possessions like defensively since, well, they've had one. I take that back. They've had one. Last week against the Jets. Week 1 against the Patriots. They allow New England to get down to the 22-yard line before Xavier Howard knocks away that pass in the end zone. Holland gets the pick. Week 2, they allow an opening kickoff touchdown. And then the first actual offensive possession for the Ravens, it was like an 18-play drive. They march all the way down the field. They get to the 1-yard line, and that's when we get the stop. So they essentially should have scored on that drive. Week 3 against the Bills, you give up a touchdown. Week 4 against the Bengals, you give up a touchdown. Now look at what the Vikings have done offensively on their first drives. Week 1, touchdown. Week 2, their only loss of the season. They did not score. Week 3, they got into field goal range and missed the kick. Week 4 and week 5, touchdowns on the first possessions of both of those weeks. So essentially every game that they've won this season, they've either scored or had a scoring opportunity on that opening drive. Now look at what the Dolphins' strategy has been this year. Essentially, they're winning the coin toss and electing to defer to the second half. So they are putting their defense on the field willingly in all of these games so far. So it'll be curious if they win the toss, if they will opt to do that again, knowing that Skylar Thompson is starting. But here's the deal. Knowing that Skylar Thompson is starting, you have to show up defensively, because the last thing we want is him to take the field for the first time and we're down 7-0. We can't do that. We got to strike early on defense. And it doesn't necessarily mean a 3 and out, but you can't have these double-digit play drives resulting in points. For the love of God, let's put back-to-back weeks together. Let's get on to something. Let's start early on defense and then let that momentum carry over, rather than having to play catch-up and then trying to figure out the defense as the game goes on. But that is what I have got today, Dolphins fans. A slight change for the end of this week. My final preview and prediction video is still going to be dropped on Saturday morning. However, instead of taking viewer questions for that one, like what we've done for all the other final preview videos so far this season, I'm going to be joined by a guest that covers the Vikings. So we're going to have a little bit of a different angle this time around. And thank you to everyone that has submitted questions so far. Those videos have been great, been getting great responses from you all. I'm going to continue to do that at some point. It's just going to be a little bit different this week. So stay tuned. It'll be a little bit different this week, but it should be fun having a guest on that's got a little insight on the Minnesota Vikings. But like I said, that is my time for today, Dolphins fans. And until next time, fins up.